Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Frequency Intel. And as always, I just want to remind everyone that whenever you are seeing this recording, I'm recording this on the 18th of December 2023, but whenever you are finding this recording, there is material that is relevant to you. There is information that is coded in this transmission that can benefit your growth and expansion through these portals of change that we're in, and this awakening state and bifurcation that's happening. So I want to dive straight into the frequencies that are most prominent here on the planet, in the collective, that are supportive and beneficial to us to work with and tap into. And so the frequency of change is coming. That was the most prominent frequency when I sat down this morning to tap into the collective consciousness and download this transmission for all of us to benefit from. Was the most prominent thing that I felt in the collective is that change is coming. It is here and we are in the midst of it. So we're in the solstice portal. We're in the solstice gateway, and the culmination of that gateway will happen on the 21st of this month. And whether you're in the northern hemisphere and this is going to be the shortest day of the year, or you're in the southern hemisphere and it's going to be the longest or the lightest day of the year, we are coming into a balance. We're coming into balance and harmony with the energies of the earth, with the earth grids, with the timelines that are present on the earth. And so the second frequency that came in is these codes of self-awareness. And I was feeling into these codes of self-awareness and this language as a frequency. And so this way of communicating, saying codes of self-awareness, is coded with information that will help you unlock your own wisdom codes internally. And the archetypal energy that supports this and that I was seeing so prominently this morning is the archetype of the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is the wisdom keeper. The High Priestess is the manifestation of as above, so below, as within, so without, and how we understand ourselves in this time-space continuum of Earth and our human experience is that our lived experience, what's going on in our external reality, is simply a feedback loop of information that is coded with information that's telling us what's going on in our internal reality. And so these codes of self-awareness are helping us to wake up more, to move into a position of authentic power in these times of change. And the most beneficial thing that we can do is make cogent, conscious, aware decisions right now. So there are three things that are wrapped up in that statement, in that information. So the first thing that I want to touch on is that we are experiencing a bifurcation of timelines. I've talked about this before in the Frequency Intel, and it's coming up again so that we can understand more clearly what is happening in our world and how we can be most empowered to create the life, the reality, the experiences that we want to be experiencing here on Earth as we grow and mature as a species. Take back our authentic power to understand that we are the creators of our reality. And so the bifurcation of timelines means that there are multiple timelines that we can access. But the bifurcation of timelines is talking about the most prominent two timelines that are accessible and available here on Earth at this time. So the bifurcation of timelines is between what has already been created, the way that we've already been creating and manifesting life here on Earth in these illusory fields of lack, limitation, and suffering, where wars are created over resources, over land, over borders, over boundaries that are invisible, where there is dual consciousness playing out on the planet, where there is poverty, scarcity, and there is affluence and prosperity. These are the bifurcated timelines. This is the bifurcated timeline that we've already experienced, that we have lived ad nauseum here on the planet. And the other timeline that's available to us now to choose is the timeline where we start to move out of the old paradigm that has already been created, and we start to create in new, positive, affirmative ways that are egalitarian and include everyone being allowed to create their own realities in prosperity, in abundance, in love, in knowing that we are all one, knowing that we are aligned and affirmed, that we are part of totality, and that every choice that we make affects the whole. And these timelines are created in love. This timeline is available to all of us to create from. And so we're at a choice point where we can feed our energy, our focus, our attention, our awareness to the old timeline that has been created, to the third dimensional structure of dual consciousness, of lack and limitation, of victim-aggressor paradigms, or we can choose to focus and feed our attention and our energy to the new timelines that are based in love and abundance and honoring all life on the planet, all human life, all mineral life, all animal life, all vegetation life, all life on the planet. And so we actually get to choose. We're in this choice point where we get to choose if we want to live on the old bifurcation timeline or on the new bifurcation timeline. And that is simply making a choice in every single day to focus on love, to focus on respecting all life, to focus on what we want to be experiencing and what is being created now on the planet. So when those of us who are awake and aware that this is possible, when we focus our considerable energy and attention into the new timeline, it amplifies the frequency of that timeline and expands that timeline. It expands that bandwidth of information, which is what frequency is, so that it is more available to more people to connect into, to resonate and entrain with, and to begin to wake up themselves. So those of us who have the awareness that we want to create from love, that we don't want to focus our attention to give any of our energy to things that we do not want to perpetuate and create, we are literally amplifying the new timeline and creating it so that it literally disintegrates the old timeline, and we stop creating from lack and limitation, from wars, from genocide, from victim aggressor paradigms, from stealing, and from all of the fears that have driven that old timeline. So that brings me to the second point of what I want to share with you about the frequencies that are available to us in this beautiful energy of the High Priestess, which is the divine mind. The High Priestess is the energy of connecting into the divine mind and allowing the identification of the ego mind, where fear lives, to dissolve and melt away, and to become more and more and more aligned with our true nature of who we truly are, and how we have the power, the authentic power, to create worlds within worlds within worlds, and choosing in each and every moment what we want that world to be like. Do we want it to be joyful? Do we want it to be compassionate? Do we want it to be caring? Do we want it to be filled with love and beauty? Yes. The answer is yes. My answer to that is 100% yes. And that is what I'm choosing to focus my attention and awareness on in each and every day. So the way that we can do this is to take back our power. One of our most empowering states is the state of pure presence. So when we give ourselves permission to be purely present, what does that mean? How do we do that? We focus on one thing at a time. If we're eating, eat the meal. If we're cooking, cook the meal. If we're working, work. If we're listening to music, listen to music. If we're meditating, simply meditate. And what this does, this brings us into our most empowered state. And what this does is this gives us the ability to listen to our mind and make clear, cogent choices from our superconscious self rather than our small self, our ego self, where fear resides. So we can listen to the mind, but we don't have to believe everything it tells us. And that puts us in the seat of power, of incredible power, to change our world, to change our reality, and to create from the frequency of unconditional, limitless love in each and every moment. So when we give ourselves permission to focus on one thing at a time. No, I want you to notice, I did this earlier today as an experiment. While I was eating my breakfast, I decided to turn off all electronics. I decided to turn everything off and to focus solely on eating. And I counted in the 20 minutes that I was eating my breakfast, 20 times that my mind told me to reach for my phone, to look at the computer, to turn it back on, to do anything else but focus on what I was doing. And so this becomes a practice that I want to invite us all into, is to begin to say no to multitasking, which distracts us, which disempowers us. It puts us in our most disempowered state to be distracted, to multitask. We are not built, our blueprint is not designed to multitask. Our blueprint is designed in its most empowered state for us to do one thing at a time and be in full presence, to be fully present in what we are actually doing in each and every moment. And when we do that, we move into the flow state that is the most empowered state to be in, and tasks take a fraction of the time that they normally take us to do when we are multitasking and distracted. That's how we lose our ability to create from a powerful state of flow consciousness. So that is the first thing that I want to invite us all into, is to practice more and more and more, to be doing one thing at a time and to be hyper focused on that one thing. And this can be as simple as starting out with 5 minutes a day, practicing doing one thing 5 minutes a day, and just looking at the mind and noticing how it wants to get that dopamine hit, which is what happens when we are multitasking. We're often getting dopamine hits from the looking at our phones, from looking at our emails, from being distracted, from trying to do too many things at one time. It's a constant dopamine hit where we are in hyperdrive all the time. So that is one thing that is so empowering for us to be doing during this change that is happening. And what this will do will help us begin to reprogram our minds to be hyper focused on what we want to create, and to dissolve all distractions that the world offers to us. And that gives us the power to focus on the timeline of creation that we want to be participating in, and to dissolve the old timeline that we do not want to create from any longer. This is how wars are going to cease existing. This is how poverty on our planet is going to cease existing. This is how we're going to step into accessing that there is abundance in every form for every being on the planet, and creating from that wisdom, from those codes of self-awareness. So the second thing, or the third thing, I think, that I want to drop into this frequency intel is that, yes, there is change coming, and it is picking up momentum. You can feel it. It's picking up momentum. We're at the end of this calendar year, and there's this opening energy. There's this kind of opening energy that is super uncertain. There's not a lot of information or intelligence inside of this opening. It's simply just an opening, like moving into the void. Although it doesn't feel as much like moving into the void to me, it feels more of a presence opening inside each and every individual. And so when change is present, when change is happening, it can often trigger illusory fear. So I'm going to unpack that, because that's a pretty loaded statement. So whenever we are choosing to change, I'm sure that you all will often see that your mind starts creating ways to stop you from changing. Your mind starts going into a spin and bringing up all manner of things to be afraid of if you were to move into change. If you were to do the thing that lights you up, that ignites your fire, that you're curious about. And then when we start to take that first step into creating change, the mind goes, oh, no. What are you doing? The last time we did this, it was a disaster. You can't do that. Or the mind goes into, you haven't ever done that before. People will laugh at you. There's already people doing that. Why do you think you're so special that you could actually make an impact or make a difference or contribute? The mind does not want, the ego mind does not want change, because it does not know whether or not that change will be successful. And our egos want to know that we succeed at whatever we do. It does not understand or want to invite in the possibility of failure. That's just all there is to it. And so illusory fear is a consciousness. Illusory fear is fear that is not founded in reality. It is made up by the mind. The mind has a consciousness of fear that controls it. That sounds pretty scary. So I want to unpack that too, because this is very simple, and it is based on when we are small and we are not able to take care of ourselves, and someone scolds us for doing something that we were just checking it out. We're just playing. We're just curious. We're reaching for the light socket to find out what it is, and we don't know that we could get electrocuted. So when someone scolds us and we immediately go, oh, I don't know how to be here on earth. I should be afraid. And the consciousness of illusory fear comes in. This is a consciousness on the planet that most human beings make an agreement with to be controlled by when we are small and we don't know how to function here on earth in a safe way. So we say to this consciousness, this collective consciousness of fear, this illusory fear, oh, you need to help me. You need to keep me safe. And that fear, that agreement with illusory fear is beneficial until we're able to turn on our brains. About 8 years old, we turn on all faculties of our brains, our reasoning senses, our prefrontal cortex, and we have the ability to make wise decisions about our well-being, our safety. And we don't fire illusory fear from controlling us. We grow up with it. It controls us ad nauseum, and it takes over our lives and controls our every decision, our every move. And sometimes we're successful at overriding it and doing the thing, creating the change in our life that we want to create and moving forward, but often we're not. And so illusory fear is a consciousness, and we can now deconstruct our agreement to be controlled by it so that we are in joy with change, so that we are in collaboration with change for our highest good and moving into the highest timelines that are available to the human species and to the planet at this time. And we can create exponential change on this planet and speed up this change and create the world that we want to live in sooner rather than later. So I just want to take a pause and see how that's all landing for everyone, and take a breath to let all of that come in, taking a breath and letting everything settle. And I want to share with you a decree to dissolve illusory fear out of your paradigm and out of your mind, and to dissolve the contract that you have made, that we've all made with illusory fear at this time, so that we are fully empowered in our own right, in our own consciousness, to make choices that are for the highest good of all beings. So how this works is to actually acknowledge that there is a mind virus of fear that affects our ability to create change in our lives and to be in charge of our own lives, to be in charge from our super conscious mind rather than our fearful egoic mind, and to call the consciousness of illusory fear to you, which sounds a little counterintuitive, but we're calling this consciousness in to say, thank you, illusory fear, for keeping me safe. I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me up until this moment in time. My contract with you is now complete. My contract with you, illusory fear, is now complete. You do not have permission to be in my reality. I dissolve all contracts, agreements, vows, promises, and oaths that were made to you, giving you permission to control me. This contract is now null and void, and I require that you leave my consciousness now. I am the sovereign being, and I am the creator of my reality, and I have nothing to fear. I am divinely protected, provided for, and guided at all times. I give authentic fear permission to guide me if there is a life-threatening situation that I am not aware of that would end my life at an inappropriate time for my soul's learning and existence here on earth. This decree is my birthright, and my word is my law. I am a sovereign being of the light, and I am the creator of my reality, and I choose to create from divine truth, divine love, and divine will from this moment forward. This is the empowerment decree that dissolves illusory fear and the mind virus of fear out of your consciousness and out of the collective consciousness. Taking back your power to create the reality that you want to experience, where illusory fear, where the mind controlling us no longer exists. And this dissolves anxiety, worry, dread, doubt, the self-doubt that keeps us small and insignificant, and believing that we're unworthy or not enough. This is one of the most powerful decrees that I know of on the planet, and that changed the trajectory of my life in miraculous ways. So I hope that you will use this decree as often as you need until you recognize that one day illusory fear has not visited your doorstep, and that you're moving forward and finding the courage and finding the divine will to follow your dreams and create the reality that you choose to live in, where all life matters, where all life, including our lives and our desires and our choices, are sacred, where everyone in our reality is seen as sacred, no matter how they're behaving. If they're misbehaving, it's simply a call to be loved. That is the truth of who we are. We are love. And anything that we display or create that is not that is simply a call to be loved, to be accepted, to be honored. And so I'm so grateful for all of you contributing to this frequency intel. This, I think, is the most powerful frequency intel transmission that I received and have shared with all of you. And my heart is just bursting with love to feel into this. This is possible. We've got this. The change that's coming is so beautiful and so rich with life-giving energy, that I certainly want to be a part of this. I want to be a leader in this, right? Serving in the awakening of humanity is our birthright. And your medicine, your gifts, your dreams, your desires are a fundamental, vital part of creating the new earth and choosing the timeline of love from the timeline of fear. From the third dimensional timeline that's controlled by illusory fear to the fifth dimensional timeline that is controlled by love. Thank you for contributing to the awakening of humanity in your powerful way. And thank you for sharing this time with me and for staying till the end. And if you're not on my mailing list, I am going to be offering some in-depth courses in breaking all of this down and restructuring our minds, restructuring our belief systems in the new year. And so if you'd like to be notified of those offerings, please go to my website. There's a pop-up thing that happens when you sign on to my website at kimpencelight.com and join my mailing list. I send out very few emails, as everyone on my mailing list will attest to. And I just send them out when there's really relevant offers or invitations or free content that I only share with my mailing list. So I love you infinitely, timelessly, ceaselessly, and abundantly. And I'm so grateful that you are on the planet. I'll see you next week on the Frequency Intel. Until then, have a magnificent and gentle week.